Something else I wanted to talk about is the nature of soloing in this music. A lot of soloists of this era, now we think of Django and Eddie Lang, and later on Charlie Christian, and those guys were all unusual because they were single note improvisers. And the reason why we remember them is because they were massively influential on later players. But actually that was not the norm for the era. The era tended to focus on chord solos. And really in the simplest sense, you could take the chord voicings that you play in the song, so for instance something like Honeysuckle Rose, and you go... Very simple, but effective. You'll notice that I'm sliding up and down by semitones here. These little semitone moves, which I feel like Peter Bernstein has kind of taken into into the modern era and really developed as a technique for playing anything from bebop to contemporary jazz. But I think like this walk down is like so iconic from Dixieland music and that kind of thing. Boom, 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 bingo. Another walking line here. Things like that are just like part and parcel of this style of music. So you can really start on that basic kind of level of playing chord solos. There's other ways, like you can take the melody note and take a static chord shape. So I'm using this kind of, for instance, G minor 7 here for Honeysuckle Rose, and then move to C9, and then move to F. So C9, and using a sharp 5 there, which I'll talk about later. Then go into F major. These little triad shapes are great for getting the style. So I'm sort of showing you a few different shapes to give you a bit of a flavour. Now you can develop this into quite, if you listen to the players of the era, they got very sophisticated at this. And even like things like chord melody, like playing in a Honeysuckle Rose. That kind of thing. That kind of thing. So that's kind of really nice. That kind of stuff. All just using chord voicings, and you can sort of start to, you can start to kind of link them together into almost scales. That kind of thing, like like moving thirds and stuff like this. If you're interested in getting into this, there's a good Jonathan Stout video I'll link to below where he goes through the basics of it. Matt Munisteri is very advanced at this. He has a lot of fantastic stuff he plays, which is this style, using lots of moving chromatic thirds and things. He's really stylish at this kind of stuff. I feel like I'm just kind of taking steps into it, although I'm getting better, but I started off just by playing these very rough kind of chord solos, often influenced by Django and Al Casey when they play that kind of stuff. Very simple, moving around by semitones, nothing massively sophisticated, but certainly effective if you have a good rhythm to it. And as you move on, you can develop more sophistication to your chord solos. Often for trios and quartets, it's very good to... You can play single note lines, but it's very good to have a lot of chords because that kind of really helps glue the band together when you're not playing rhythm. Okay, so when it comes to single note soloing, it's very tempting to talk about note choices. And actually, I think note choices are very much less important than rhythmic phrasing choices. And what I mean by that? Well, The thing is, like in bebop, things are much more on the upbeat. So you can have phrases like which is just completely not a phrase you would have in like pre-Charlie Parker jazz. You know, something much more like okay, so it's much more kind of earthy, much more based around the beat, and fewer eighth notes as well. So if I'm going to play, I'll try and demonstrate some phrasing ideas on Honeysuckle Rose which kind of fit that.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
That's very beboppy, right? That's much more swingy, right? So it's kind of hard to put like. Sometimes it's hard for me to put my finger on what exactly the difference is. But I think like a lot of it is much more locked into like. There's a lot of stuff that's locked into like a 2-3 clave. So but you know, that kind of feel. Yeah, it's and these trills. You know, really common in sort of like Django and stuff like that, obviously. But you know, also in like the horn players as well. So I think like there's another rhythm which is called it's a Brazilian rhythm called opinage. Opinage, which is you know kind of compatible with a lot of this early jazz type stuff, and that's da 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 ding ga ga do do da 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 ding da 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 da. So it's boom 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 da da da. And I play like 1, 2, 3, 4 da 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 da. If I play that kind of feel with Honeysuckle Rose, so I'll sing it first.
1, 2, 3.
Ba da da ba da da bu da da dee da ba da da ba da da ba da da dee da ba da 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 Excuse me. Now, if I entered that phrase, if I go into but then something like that, for instance, or that would have been ba-da-ba-ba-bum, you know, that would have been a little bit more beboppy, but I ended up on the beat, so hopefully it wasn't too far outside the style. As I say, I'm not a purist, but I think
1, 2, 3.
using the blues as well and quotations. I quoted Lester Leaps In there, and using these kind of phrases. By the way, if you are playing the blues in 20s, 30s style, you'll probably focus more on the major pentatonic than the minor. So instead of playing like, you know, on a B flat 7, instead of playing that, you'll probably play more like it's a G minor blues scale. And there that flat 5 becomes like the flat 3 of that key. So that's basically the sound of the 1930s. Later 1930s, 40s was so much about that minor third in the major key. But you obviously hear it in earlier music too, and of course in the blues. So that's a big deal. I'm aware that this is quite a long video, but if you watch this far, I'm going to give you a couple of little special bits of advice. First of all, technique. You want to project on an acoustic instrument, so playing mostly in downstrokes and downward rest strokes is, I think, a really good idea. You don't have to be a gypsy jazz guitarist to get that, to get more kind of power. You can hold a pick like this, or you can hold a pick like this, or you can use your thumb even like Teddy Bunn. But the downward rest stroke gives you a lot more projection than simple alternate picking or something. So if you go, you know, as opposed to, I I can make that as heavy as I like. For single note playing is really kind of helpful. But sometimes you might find that it's just not enough even then, and then you have to go back to the chordal soloing. Chordally, I'd say like the two big things aside from triads to really focus on are the diminished sevenths and augmented triad, because they really help give you the style. So for instance, instead of playing 1-6-2-5 as we might, you do get that progression in this music, but very often as a turnaround, instead of getting a 6-7 chord or a 6 minor chord, you get the flat 3 diminished sevenths. So for instance, if I'm playing rhythm changes, it might be more like this. This is B flat, B diminished, C minor, seventh, right? And then C sharp diminished seventh. First inversion, B flat / D, just a triad. Go back to the diminished chord again. And then C minor seventh and F7. So it goes like... So I'm doing... So that's B flat 7 in third inversion with the A flat at the bottom, E major with the third in the bottom, E flat major, sorry, with the third in the bottom, E flat minor with the third in the bottom, then we go to F, so we actually have B flat over F, lots of inversions, right? And then maybe C7 here. Or it should be alternatively, right? So that's really important with the diminished chords. There's so many beautiful ways to use diminished chords. The common tone cadential diminished chord, so using B flat diminished seventh to go into B flat major, which gives you that blue note in the melody, and also that one as well. And the other common chord, which is used a lot, and is almost for me the sound of like pre-war jazz, is the augmented triad. So instead of playing an F7, just play an F triad, an F augmented triad. So I'm going, for instance, on Honeysuckle Rose. It is a sound of 1920s dance music. Is that in a flat 6-7 chord? Okay, so that kind of instantly gets you in that world, and of course that opens up a doorway to the whole tone scale, which again is like. But that's often what musicians played around with in that time when they wanted something a little bit more modern sounding. For instance, Bix Beiderbecke in his famous composition. In the Mist, which was influenced by Debussy.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah? Diminished. Very much a bebop line, but I kind of like to slip them in, and I can't really help it anyway. But I think as long as it doesn't go too far outside the rhythm, that line at the end, I mean. As long as it doesn't go too far outside the rhythm, I don't think it's completely objectionable. Again, another thing, I was using the minor sixth substitution on the dominant, so instead of playing G7, for instance, I would be playing D minor sixth. Which again has that very kind of swing era or earlier sound. And anyway, so hopefully this has ended up being a rather long video, but I hope you find it useful and interesting. It's possible I might even chop it up into a few different sections. But let me know what you think below and have fun with it. Thanks for checking it out. Bye.